When you think of Chateau YouTube, there are a handful of names that immediately come to mind. There's Stephanie Jarvis and her Chateau Diaries empire, Michael Petherick and his whirlwind of projects, Amaury and Noddy with their new channel, and of course, Dan the gardener. Out of all of them, Dan is perhaps the most unexpected success story. He began not as a chateau owner, not as a master craftsman, but as the gardener at Lalande. With no training in historic building, no degree in architecture, and no background in heritage restoration, he built his YouTube presence on grit, determination, and a willingness to tackle the hardest jobs with little more than basic tools and brute force. That underdog status is what made him appealing. Viewers loved seeing a regular guy dive headfirst into a dream that most people only fantasize about. He wasn't polished. He wasn't an expert. But he was authentic. And when he finally bought his own ruined chateau, fans were ready to cheer him on. But buying a ruin is one thing. Restoring it is another. And when Dan revealed his plan to install a full slate roof, one of the most expensive, technically demanding parts of a restoration, that's when his lack of formal experience came into sharp focus. The choice didn't just raise eyebrows because of its cost. It raised eyebrows because this was a man who, up until a few years ago, was mowing lawns, now attempting a project that even seasoned builders approach with caution. To understand the controversy, you first have to understand what slate means in France. Slate is the traditional roofing material for historic properties. It's beautiful, it's durable, and it can last a century if installed correctly. But it also requires specialized skill. Laying slate isn't like nailing down shingles. Each piece has to be carefully placed, angled, and secured to withstand decades of weather. If done wrong, the result is leaks, instability, and wasted money. Hiring trained artisans costs a fortune. Attempting it yourself without experience is, to put it bluntly, a gamble. And that's where Dan's decision sparked such heated reactions. On one side, you had viewers who applauded him. They saw it as proof that he was serious, that he was willing to do things the right way. Why patch up a chateau with cheap shortcuts, only to have to redo it later? If you're going to dream, dream big. To them, the slate roof was a statement of integrity, but on the other side were the skeptics. They looked at Dan, a man with no background in roofing, no team of trained artisans, and limited finances, and saw a disaster waiting to happen. A slate roof doesn't just require money, it requires know-how. Critics asked the obvious questions. Did Dan really understand what he was taking on? Was this ambition? Or was it hubris? Was it responsible to pour resources into a roof before making even a single wing livable? This split reaction is key to understanding Dan's place in Chateau YouTube. He built his reputation on scrappiness, on being the relatable everyman. People expected him to approach problems creatively and frugally, finding workarounds where others would throw money. By suddenly reaching for the most expensive, most complex option, he disrupted the narrative his audience had come to expect. The underdog was acting like a heavyweight. And for some viewers, that rang false. The online conversations reflected this tension. Supporters insisted that a chateau deserves authenticity. And slate is part of that. They argued that even if it took years, doing it right was the only option. Critics, meanwhile, warned that without professional training, Dan risked creating more problems than he solved. They compared him to Stephanie Jarvis, whose luxurious choices are part of her brand. But while Stephanie surrounds herself with specialists and plays the role of hostess, Dan's appeal was hands-on work. Seeing him tackle a project that even experts struggle with made some viewers deeply uneasy, and this brings us to a bigger theme, the question of experience. In real life, nobody would expect a gardener with no formal training to successfully re-roof a chateau. But on YouTube, the boundaries blur. Viewers want to believe in the dream. They want to see the impossible made possible. Yet at the same time, they can't suspend disbelief entirely. They know that certain jobs demand expertise. They know that mistakes could cost not just money, but the entire future of the project. Watching Dan bite off something so massive without the credentials to back it up left many wondering, is this dream sustainable, or is it destined to collapse under the weight of inexperience? To Dan's credit, his channel thrives on this very tension. Viewers tune in because they want to see if he can pull it off. His lack of experience isn't just a liability, it's part of the hook. Every project feels risky, every success feels earned. But the slate roof magnified that risk to a new scale. A garden wall falling down is one thing. A botched roof is another. The stakes suddenly felt much higher, and the debate reflected that, for Dan, the slate roof became more than just a practical decision. It became a symbol of the larger question: can passion, persistence, and YouTube revenue make up for a lack of professional training? Or are there limits to what an enthusiastic amateur can achieve? The answer, of course, isn't clear yet. Some will argue that with enough time and support, Dan will succeed. Others predict the roof will stand as the most expensive mistake of his YouTube career. And perhaps that's why the controversy matters. It isn't just about slate, or even about one chateau. It's about how we view expertise in the age of YouTube. It's about whether audiences prefer authenticity over perfection, and whether creators should be held to professional standards when they step into roles traditionally filled by trained craftspeople. Dan embodies that debate. He is both inspiring and frustrating, both relatable and reckless. At the end of the day, the roof will either hold or it won't. But the story has already done its job. It's kept people watching, kept them talking, kept them arguing in comment sections and forums. For a YouTuber, that's success. Engagement, even when it's critical, fuels the channel. Dan's lack of experience may make the slate roof a gamble, but it also makes it compelling television. So, is Dan the gardener's slate roof a bold step toward a properly restored chateau? Or is it a dangerous misstep from a man with more determination than training? Time will tell. But one thing is certain: in the strange, addictive world of Chateau YouTube, even a simple roof can reveal everything about dreams, money, identity, and the very thin line between ambition and overreach, and maybe that's why we keep watching. Not because we're sure Dan will succeed, but because we're not sure at all. If you read the description of this video, you can see that we at Chateau Walls are now selling merch. Feel free to click the links and check out the merch. Also, if you enjoyed this video and would like more deep dives into topics such as the roof at Chateau Diaries, then give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. You can also become a Patreon by looking up our channel Chateau Walls. If you have ideas for future visits, leave a comment or a question below.